Listen to me closely. If there is one truth you must grasp with the full attention of your soul, it is this: prayers that confront evil spirits are not mere empty sounds. They are weapons forged in the furnace of God's power. They are chains that restrain darkness. They are swords that pierce the core of wickedness and shields that guard your destiny from destruction. Countless people live in bondage without even knowing it. Countless walk through life dragging unseen chains around their necks. Chains of fear, chains of addiction, chains of despair, chains of confusion, chains of unexplainable defeat. And they believe this is normal. But I tell you, it is not normal. It is the work of evil spirits that whisper in the shadows, seeking to destroy what God has planted inside of you. That is why you must rise, open your mouth, and pray with the authority that God has given you. Do not be deceived into thinking that evil spirits are powerless illusions. They are real. They lurk in unseen places. They scheme in the darkness. They manipulate thoughts, twist desires, and plant seeds of destruction. But hear me, while they are real, they are not greater than God. They may plot, but they cannot prevail. They may whisper, but they cannot command. They may attempt to bind you, but you carry the authority to bind them first. And that authority is not given by man, not given by traditions, not given by rituals, but by God himself, who rules above every principality and every power. When you pray, you are not just speaking into the air. You are declaring into the unseen world. Your words, when aligned with God's authority, become fire. They become chains. They become decrees that no demon can break. Music, that is why evil spirits fear a praying man, a praying woman, a praying household. Because when you pray with faith, you are not weak. You are unstoppable. You are not a victim. You are a warrior. You are not bound. You are the one who binds. Many of you have felt strange oppression in your life. You try to move forward, but something keeps pulling you back. You try to rise, but a heaviness presses you down. You try to think clearly, but confusion clouds your mind. These are not coincidences. They are not accidents. They are signs that evil spirits have sought to influence your path. But today you must decide you will no longer live under their grip. You will no longer accept their interference. You will no longer tolerate their presence. Because God has not called you to live in chains. He has called you to walk in freedom. So how do you bind them? Not by your own strength, not by empty words, but by aligning your spirit with God and speaking with authority. When you pray, you must pray with fire, not with doubt. You must pray with conviction, not with hesitation. You must pray with boldness, not with fear. God has already given you the power to resist the enemy, but resistance requires action. Resistance requires voice. Resistance requires prayer. Pray like this. In the name of the Almighty God, I bind every evil spirit that has sought to enter my life. I chain you. I silence you. I strip you of your assignment. And I cast you away from my home, my family, my mind, and my destiny. You have no right here. You have no power here. You have no place here. By God's authority, I declare freedom over every area of my life. And when you pray these words, do not whisper them timidly. Speak them with the conviction of someone who knows they are backed by heaven. Evil spirits do not flee from weak prayers. They flee from prayers spoken in authority. Authority comes from knowing who you are in God. Authority comes from believing that when you speak, the unseen world must obey. Let me tell you something. Vital evil spirits look for entry points. They cannot simply invade at will. They look for doors left open. Doors of fear, doors of sin, doors of unforgiveness, doors of bitterness. And once they find an opening, they plant themselves there, feeding on your weakness, amplifying your struggles. That is why part of binding them is also closing every open door. When you pray, do not only command them to leave. Also declare that every access point is sealed by God's power. Pray with boldness. I close every door I have opened to darkness. I shut down every invitation I unknowingly gave. I cut every tie, I break every chain. I cancel every covenant with evil. From this moment on, my life, my body, my mind, my household belong to God alone. You may ask, but how do I know if an evil spirit is working in my life? Look at the patterns. Look at the cycles that repeat. If you see constant defeat, with no logical explanation. If you notice unending confusion, constant accidents, repetitive failures, unnatural fear, uncontrollable anger, unexplainable heaviness, or temptations that seem impossible to resist, it may be the hand of evil spirits. But do not fear. Recognition is not defeat. Recognition is the first step to victory. Once you see their schemes, you can expose them. And once they are exposed, you can bind them with the authority of prayer. Understand this truth. Evil spirits thrive in silence. They thrive when you ignore them. They thrive when you explain away their work as coincidence. But when you name them, when you expose them, when you command them, their power crumbles. They cannot withstand the fire of God's authority spoken through your lips. That is why you must never be silent in prayer. Speak, declare, command. Your voice is a weapon. Your words are chains. Some of you have accepted bondage as if it were normal. You have said, this is just who I am. This is just my weakness. This is just my fate. No, that is a lie planted by darkness. Your identity is not in chains. Your identity is in God. You are not meant to be bound. You are meant to bind. You are not destined for defeat. You are destined for victory. Stop living as if evil spirits are stronger than you. They are not. The God who dwells within you is greater than every force of darkness combined. When you rise to pray, know this. Every word you speak shakes the foundations of darkness. Every declaration you make echoes in the unseen realm. Every prayer you utter in faith ties down another chain of the enemy. You may not see it with your eyes immediately, but in the spirit the atmosphere shifts, chains fall, doors open, strongholds crumble. That is the power of prayer. That is why you must never stop praying. And I declare over you today, as you begin to pray these prayers to bind evil spirits, you will feel heaviness lift. You will sense clarity return. You will notice cycles break. You will rise with new strength, new vision, new courage. God himself will stand with you. And when he stands with you, no spirit of darkness can remain. So lift your voice, pray without fear, pray without hesitation, pray without doubting. Bind every evil spirit that has sought to hold you back. And watch as God releases you into the life of freedom, purpose, and destiny. He has already prepared for you. When you pray with the authority of God's presence, you are not speaking into the air. You are sending forth a command into the unseen world that cannot be ignored. Every spirit that once laughed at your weakness begins to tremble at the sound of your voice. Not because of who you are in yourself, but because of the one who stands behind you. Do you realize that the moment you align yourself with God, the same power that separated the light from the darkness, the same power that commanded the seas to part, the same power that silenced kings and raised nations flows through your words. When you pray with faith, you are not pleading with fear. You are enforcing divine law. Evil spirits are not simply discouraged by prayer. They are bound, chained, and cast into silence when God's authority is invoked with conviction. But here lies the secret many overlook. Prayer is not about beautiful words or long speeches. It is about alignment. When your heart aligns with God, your voice carries weight in heaven and terror in hell. Evil spirits are experts in deception. They thrive where there is doubt, fear, bitterness, and hidden sin. But the moment you cleanse your heart before God, they lose their grip. The enemy feeds on darkness. But when your spirit becomes filled with the light of God's presence, there is no darkness left to feed upon. This is why prayer begins with surrender. Because only in surrender do you receive the strength to bind what once bound you. Think about this. Every chain the enemy places on your life is fastened by lies. Lies that you are not strong enough. Lies that you are not worthy enough. Lies that you cannot escape. But when you pray in the name of God's truth, those lies are shattered. The voice of God drowns out the whispers of the enemy. Prayer does not just silence demons. It exposes them, strips them, and drives them out into the open where they have no hiding place. You must begin to see yourself not as a victim of spiritual warfare, but as a warrior chosen by God to carry his authority. Every time you rise to pray, you step into battle fully armed with divine power. There are spirits of fear that seek to your future. There are spirits of poverty that try to keep you in cycles of lack. There are spirits of confusion that cloud your decisions. There are spirits of infirmity that attempt to weaken your body. There are spirits of strife that tear apart families and relationships. And there are spirits of despair that whisper, give up, there is no hope. But when you stand in prayer before God, you confront each one of them head on, declaring you have no place in my life. You have no authority in my family. You have no power over my destiny. And the power of God enforces your words. For God himself honors the cry of his children who stand in faith. Beloved, the key to binding evil spirits lies in persistence. Do not think that a single prayer muttered without faith will scatter legions. Evil spirits test the strength of your conviction. They listen to whether you truly believe the words you speak. But when you rise with boldness day after day, refusing to let go, refusing to back down, refusing to surrender your peace, they cannot resist you. The power of God flowing through consistent prayer builds a wall around your life that no enemy can penetrate. That is why you must become relentless in prayer. When the enemy whispers it's not working, you must shout back, God is working even now. When the darkness deepens, that is the time to pray even louder. When the attack intensifies, that is the moment to push deeper into God's presence. And let me tell you this truth. Every evil spirit operates under limitation. They may roar, they may threaten, they may attempt to intimidate, but they are not unlimited. Only God is unlimited. Only God is sovereign. Evil spirits cannot cross a boundary that God establishes. And through prayer, you have the authority to establish those boundaries in your life. You can say, thus far and no further. You will not touch my children. You will not touch my health. You will not invade my peace. You will not sabotage my destiny. Your prayer becomes the command that heaven enforces and hell fears. But there is more. Prayer not only binds evil spirits, it releases God's angels to work on your behalf. Do you understand that every time you pray with faith, God dispatches heavenly forces to surround you, to protect you, and to fight for you? When you lift your voice to God, unseen warriors move at his command. Where darkness tries to invade, God's light pierces through. Where evil spirits plot, God's angels scatter them like dust in the wind. This is why you must never see prayer as a ritual, but as a divine weapon that summons the very power of heaven into your earthly situation. So now I call you to awaken. Stop treating prayer like a last resort. Make it your first response. Stop approaching prayer as if you are weak. Approach it as one who carries the authority of God himself. Stop praying as though the enemy is greater. Pray knowing that God is far above all powers, dominions, and spiritual forces. Your words in prayer are not empty. They are divine decrees that shift the atmosphere, dismantle strongholds, and crush the head of every serpent that rises against you. Lift your spirit today and declare with authority, by the power of God, I bind every evil spirit of fear. By the power of God, I bind every evil spirit of doubt. By the power of God, I bind every evil spirit of confusion. By the power of God, I bind every evil spirit of sickness, of division, of despair. You have no hold over me, no hold over my family, no hold over my future. I walk in freedom because God is my strength, my shield, and my deliverer. And as you pray these words, believe them. Let them rise from the deepest part of your soul. Let them echo with conviction until heaven bears witness and hell trembles in defeat. For when a child of God prays with faith, the entire spiritual world takes notice. Beloved, hear me in this moment. You are not called to live in chains. You are not called to bow under the weight of fear, doubt, or oppression. You are not called to let evil spirits dictate your destiny. You are a child created by God, sustained by his power, and protected by his hand. The darkness that tried to break you has already been defeated in the presence of the Almighty. The curses that others spoke over you have no authority. Where God's blessing rests, the spirits that circled your life hoping to destroy you come tremble because they know the power of prayer rising from your lips is backed by the eternal strength of God himself. But this is where you must make a decision. Will you live passively, allowing unseen forces to steal from you in silence? Or will you rise as a warrior of prayer, binding every evil spirit that dares to cross the boundary of God's protection? This is your call to action. Take your authority. Do not wait for another day. Do not wait for another season. Begin now. Tonight, tomorrow, every single day, open your mouth, lift your hands, and declare into the unseen realm that you belong to God, that your house belongs to God, that your future belongs to God. Fill your atmosphere with prayer until no demon can breathe in your presence, until no spirit of darkness can find rest near your family, until no power of evil can touch the territory God has given you. And let your prayers not be timid but bold. Let them not be weak whispers but roaring declarations. Let them not be occasional rituals, but the unshakable rhythm of your life. For the person who prays without ceasing becomes unstoppable. The one who stands in constant communion with God cannot be enslaved. When you rise every day and proclaim, God is my shield, God is my strength, God is my deliverer, then no weapon formed against you can prevail. So I challenge you, build your life upon prayer. Bind the spirits of fear, of poverty, of sickness, of confusion, of despair. Declare that your household is a fortress of light where only God's presence dwells. Let every corner of your being be saturated with His power. And when you walk, walk as one who carries authority. When you speak, speak as one who commands the unseen. When you pray, pray as one whose words shake the very foundations of darkness. This is the moment where you draw the line in the sand. This is the day you decide that evil spirits will no longer toy with your mind, your peace, your health, your family, your destiny. You are not helpless. You are not abandoned. You are not powerless. You are armed with the greatest weapon of all, prayer aligned with the living God. Use it and watch as chains break, doors open, and victories manifest. Go forth now, not as the same person you were before hearing this word, but as one awakened, empowered, and clothed in the authority of God. Lift your spirit, raise your voice, and step into your rightful authority. Pray without hesitation. Pray with courage. Pray with unwavering faith. And let the world witness what happens when a life completely surrendered to God proclaims with unshakable certainty, no evil force will prevail over me, for the Lord is my shield, my rescuer, and my triumph.